Hey guys, welcome to True Champion Gaming. I'm Isaac, I'm here with Caban, and today this video is going to be a special one for the review that we're starting to do. Should have seen our first one on normal elements. If you haven't, please go check that out.
Definitely worth a watch.
And today we're going to cover a probably more important one that probably people want to hear the review of that we did leave out in the last one, which is Quicksilver Grail. So Quicksilver Grail is the new divine relic for the Fractured Crown set. And so yeah, we're just going to jump in it and kind of give our 2 cents on what we think of it.
Cool. Sounds good.
Yeah.
So if you've watched our other video on Norm, you are familiar with our rating scale. Basically 1 through 5. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but we'll leave that to just the other videos. So just to get right into it, we did speak about this one a little bit more in our other videos. All cards that we've rated were independently rated. So Terry, Isaac, and myself have all done our own ratings and kind of given our own reasons and then come together to talk. But this one we actually shared. So we already know a couple of things that each other are going to say, and we know our ratings and stuff. So, but yeah, so I rated this a 2.
I rated it a 2 as well, actually.
Yeah, wow.
I didn't think, okay, I thought I was going to be like the odd man out here. So
yeah.
I'm glad you. So
Oh, you didn't know I rated it a 2?
No, I didn't. I didn't know that. I don't think I knew what everyone rated it. I know we were necessarily the biggest fans of it.
All 3 of us had extremely similar opinions of this card with ratings, the reasons behind our ratings and everything. And this card was spoiled, I think yesterday or something like that for us. I don't know when we're posting this video, but and I did watch the community's reaction, and I thought that people were going to kind of like overhype it a little bit and like not really, but it was actually surprising. A lot of people seemed a little reserved with this card and saw its weaknesses right out the gate. So I'm a little glad that I don't know. I was expecting a lot of hate for both of us to come on here and just be like, nah, card's not good, but so, I have heard a couple people though really sing its praises, think that it's going to like completely replace GCR and stuff. And obviously with our ratings, we don't agree. So, I will talk about what does make this card good first, because I think that's going to be a shorter conversation than what makes the card a little unusable. So with I guess we should probably read off the card as well, even though it's on screen. So it's a 0-cost Regalia item, so it goes in your material deck. Divine Relic, so you can only have one, obviously, of the card, because material deck is always limited to 1 card, but it means that you can only have 1 card with that tag. So currently in the game, we have Grand Crusader's Ring, which was in Dawn of Ashes, our first set, and then now we also have this card. So you essentially have to pick between those 2, and then the more cards that come out with that tag, it's going to be, a bigger pool to pick from, and I think hopefully our next one will have a little bit more of a decision between these cards. On enter, you banish a non-champion card from your material deck face down, and then you banish Quicksilver Grail to play that banished card. You still have to pay for the cost, which that part being on there is very important, and I'm sure that's why they put that little text there, because if a card ever refers to playing a card, it still means that you have to pay for those costs. The only way it doesn't is if it actually does specify that you don't have to pay for the cost. But I think because this card is what it is, they added that on there.
A little extra insurance.
Yeah, so that not too many people are confused. But so you're giving up your materialization to go into a card that is allowing you to materialize. So you're not getting a bonus materialization here. That's something that, if you read the card too quickly, you might not realize. But essentially what this is truly allowing you to do is a fast materialization step. Another really important thing is that you can materialize out something at the moment you need it, which is what fast materialization means. But so, for example, if you bring out a Nullifying Lantern against something like Erupting Rhapsody that shuts off their win condition, they might just Spurn to Ash it, right? However, now you have this card sitting here, and it's not like that Nullifying Lantern where you're just dreading them playing that, and then now you have no way to really interact with them. Now now they would have to Spurn to Ash twice, right? They have to Spurn to Ash on this, then you would trigger it, bring out that Nullifying Lantern, and then now they have to Spurn to Ash again. And if they're doing 2 Spurn to Ashes, they're not doing much that turn, right? Right. So that is kind of the ideal situation, is you're playing against a deck that whatever you bring out with Quicksilver Grail is going to just shut them off. It's going to at least buy you a turn or something, and that's your best interaction, because unlike something like just bringing out Nullifying Lantern, like they can respond to it, they can shut it off, and they're not going to like play Erupting Rhapsody and then like lose its effect, right? But with this card now, if they don't have Spurn to Ash or Double Weight, like if they don't have a way to deal with it, which they probably won't have, they might go Erupting Rhapsody, hoping that you didn't go Nullifying Lantern, and then now you bring out your Nullifying Lantern, and now they've wasted the mana to put down that, or they've wasted cards from hand to cast the card. They've wasted the card itself because now it's not really doing anything. So that's kind of like best case scenario is you have a card to bring off of Quicksilver Grail that completely stops your opponent from doing something, and you activate it all at the right time.
Yeah. And I will point out, make sure you do banish it. If they play Spurn to Ashes, don't just let it die thinking, oh, my banish card will come back.
Right.
You do have to banish this too. So make sure you're saying, okay, I'm going to banish it before that happens.
Right.
Or in reaction to that.
Yeah, because if you don't and this just dies, then that card is essentially lost for the whole game. Because we actually just learned too, I did clear this with one of the mods, that if that card is face down, it has no properties. Yeah. So I don't know why you would, but let's say you bring out Quicksilver Grail and you banish an Ornamental Greatsword into your banishment with this card. I don't know why you'd ever do that, but let's just say in theory. And then Quicksilver Grail dies for some reason, and then later you play Onsol, you can't grab that sword.
Right.
Even though you know it's a sword, the game doesn't know it's a sword, so it's not a valid target. So yeah, it is. That was an interesting interaction for sure.
So I guess we'll get into the negatives.
The negatives, yeah.
One, and I'll start low.
Yeah.
So this is using up an additional slot from your material deck. Yeah. Basically, a single material card costs 2 material slots in your deck, which is already a limited 12 cards. And this one is taking up an additional one, and you have to use it for the other one. So, and with how I felt even first set be with Dawn and Ashes be with material cards, and me being like, I want to put like 2 other cards in here, and I can't. And with more coming out this set, that's a pretty big negative to me.
Material decks already feel small, and like you said, this set adding in more. And the most important thing to remember is like, at best, it's 2 cards taken in your material deck. Yeah. But that's if you were to know what you're going to face again. Like, that's only if like a tier 0 deck was running around and you were expecting to play like 70% of those decks, right? Realistically, this card works when you have like 4 or 5 different options, so that every time you sit down and play against the deck, you have a different answer for it.
Yep.
And I just don't, and that's like one of the biggest reasons that I did put it down so little, is because I don't actually think this is a versatile card. It reads and is a versatile card.
Yes.
But when you really go into the actual situation of it, you don't have that luxury, you know? It is interesting too, because if you have watched our Norm video, you'll talk about how much more side deck stuff there is too, right? Because I had those thoughts of like, you don't really have the space in your main deck, but I was like, okay, well, maybe this is a really good side deck card, you know? Like obviously you'd have it in your main deck at first, but then you sideboard like just every answer that you could possibly think of to every deck, right? But again, even in the side, I don't think you have that space. So, and the important thing is that when you're playing this, you have to pick the target on enter. And so you have to also pick that timing of, you don't play it too late where something like Erupting Rhapsody's already killed you, but playing it early is really going to set you back, because the card that we're going to have to compare this against is Ring, right?
Yep.
If you go into Ring, turn 1, turn 5, turn 10, whenever you're going into it, it's giving you that immediate value. This card, if you go into it turn 1 or 2 to stop whatever strategy your opponent's doing, you're giving up your own strategy to do that. You're sacrificing your own materialization step to do that. And Ring is helping you work towards your own strategy. So, you know, slowing down your opponent is kind of the same as like working towards your strategy, because it's buying you time, but you know, it does just feel weaker to me.
It definitely feels weaker. And with how important card draw feels in this game too, where card draw is your mana, your energy, your whatever, your ramp, having a free ramp 1 is so much better.
They really started off strong. They did, because I mean, every Divine Relic that comes out for a while is always just immediately going to be compared to Ring. And it's very hard to beat a literal free +1. That's what it is, right? And so, and man, you really, to get full value from this, you just really have to have so many things go right. Because I'm going to read off my notes here, because it was just funny to me how many things have to go right in order for this to happen. So you have to actually know what your opponent's list is and what their win condition is, which
also counting.
Yeah, right, yeah. So like if you're a veteran player, you know, and you know what decks are going around, what lists are, what, like if you see one card, you might be like, okay, well this is a card that they're going to play. That definitely becomes easier. But for a new player, this is an incredibly hard card to play. You might sit down from a Fire Rye that's showing signs of being erupting, and you might not know what that deck is. And so how are you ever going to interact with that, right? You also need to be playing a card in your material deck that will disrupt them enough at fast speed activation, which Nullifying Lantern is a great example there, but like there's not too many of those, right? And then you also actually need to have the space in order to be playing that option in your side deck or in your material deck, which we just covered. You also have to bring out the Grail at the correct timing, which we kind of covered a little bit too. And you have to keep it alive, because if they decide to kill it over 2 turns, then like they're still going to get rid of their Nullifying. You might have, you know, slowed them down a little bit, but it's not getting that full value that you really want. And then you're also just talking about those slots, right? Because when you break down the math, like 12 sounds like a high amount for a material deck, but if you're running a level 3, that's 4 slots taken. Spirit, level 1, level 2, level 3, and this, and at least one other card. And then you're talking about like a handful of cards left for what your strategy is. It's just not enough. It really isn't.
And the amount of times that you would go, well, and I'll say this, and I don't want to spoil a card, but it is an important card to bring up and I think we mentioned it in our norm set, which is the first like counter card. Which is in water, and a lot of people probably have already seen that because it's such a talked about card already, but that can do a similar effect to block.
It is for sure
what is occurring. And also there's other cards that do make it more difficult for your opponent to play certain cards too, in general.
Cost more, whatever.
Exactly. And so I just feel like there's better options.
That's a really good point, honestly, because if this was the only type of like stop your opponent from killing you, then maybe you do have to give it some more value. But like, that's a really good point. Like we have kind of a plethora of those right now, like at least with Fractured Crown coming in. And I mean, with the new spirits too, right? I thought of a situation where imagine you're playing a draw 6 spirit, and then you're also playing Quicksilver Grail, and your opponent's playing a draw 7 spirit and ring, and they go second. Within the basically at the start of the game, you could already find yourself in a situation where you're down 3 cards. Like, I don't care who has the tempo. That early on in the game, like that's just so hard to cover from.
It's rough. And I wonder if they did this on purpose a little bit, because it is a smaller set, and unlike Dawn of Ashes was. And not to say every set is going to be as big as Dawn of Ashes or anything like that, but to put, and I'm assuming they're putting in some kind of Divine Relic in each set. So they don't want to keep making already crazy Divine Relics. So it's understandable, but also currently, why we both gave it a 2, there isn't, and I can't think of currently what the support would be for this later on, other than some crazy other material card that you do really want to protect. But that being said, I'm not going to play it too much, I'll say.
And in our rating systems, 2 are for cards that like, they might be really good one day. And this card could work like that because like you said, like the more regalia that they print, the more options that this card can bring out would make it better. But I really think that we just always are restricted to that material deck size. So it does have room to get better, but it is also still restricted in such a big way. So,
out of curiosity, do you think if it did 2 cards, would it see play? 2?
I mean, because then you are actually getting an extra materialization, which that's a very, very strong.
You still have to pay from and all that stuff.
But I mean,
I wonder, would that be would you say on par too strong than GCR?
I would say it's stronger. Two materializations. I mean, even if you want to get like Mimi with it, you could bring out a fire bobble and a wind bobble or something like in every matchup. Or have those in your material deck and then bring out that type of bobble and then also bring out like a Sword of Seeking or something for extra damage and stuff. We've seen how strong an extra materialization is. Beseech the Wind, one of the most expensive SRs and one of the most played SRs. Dungeon Guide, crazy strong as well. Anything that cheats out an extra materialization, very strong in this game so far. This doesn't do that.
And I saw someone say like they should have made this 2. That's why I asked.
I think it would be 2 over 2.
And that's why I thought so too. I was like, then it feels too strong. So I know they kept it at 1, but also then it feels way too weak.
Yeah.
And then 2 feels way too strong. Like 2 is immediate 5, 1 is a 2.
Something that I've always liked about this game is that whenever I look at a card, I'm like, man, this could get really, really broken one day, even if it has kind of a subpar effect right now. But I just really think that count of material deck is it's too low to really ever let you get full advantage of this.
Unless they play something that allow you to have a bigger material deck.
Like in that case,
champion or a spirit or something.
Yeah, I mean, like in a situation where you're playing like a material deck that only goes into a level 1 and your whole strategy is like stun. So like every card that you play in your regalia or in your material deck is designed to slow down your opponent and stuff. Like you could get into some situations where like this card is fantastic, 5-star absolutely, but like. I think you're talking about a really specific situation there, and I just don't think that we're going to see that soon either.
No, I don't think so either. So,
I think that's really all there is to say about this card.
Definitely.
So,
if you guys had different thoughts, let us know.
Absolutely.
Like, there could be stuff we're totally missing.
For sure, because like Nullifying Lantern like comes to my mind right away, and there are other options, but I haven't thought of any that were better. Oh, actually, I do want to mention one thing. I almost gave this card a higher rating because it existing does impact the meta. Because now, Nullifying Lantern and this combo, that is a very strong combo. And that existing is a reason to not play decks like Erupting Rhapsody. Right.
And there's the other, now basically a blue Nullifying Orb, Elder Lantern or whatever, which is the trinket that we brought up. And I cannot remember, Viridian Protective Trinket or something like that?
Azure Protective Trinket. It's a norm
That's
color.
the fire one.
Okay.
I'm talking about the blue one specifically, where it's another thing that you really want to protect against blue, a blue opponent. So
yeah, because you don't want them to fracturize it. You might want to, right. So there are definitely some combos, but I think like this will impact the meta a little bit because it is a card that can allow hate strategies more. So I would probably not be bringing something like Erupting to Ascent because I would be terrified of this combo with Nullifying Lantern.
Sure.
I mean, it'd be a really, really hard thing to get away. So, I think it will impact the meta a little bit. But anyways, like you said, please, if you have thought of something that we haven't, which I'm sure someone out there has, drop it in the comments because we're just trying to start these discussions.
Yeah, for sure. So, well, guys, until next time, peace.